name is Sheila Elwardani, and I'm here today with Robert Nestor of Floyd County, Virginia. Bob is 94-year-old World War II veteran who's lived his entire life in Floyd County. We're here today to talk a little bit about the impact and the importance of the American chestnut tree to the population of Floyd County, and he'll relate it a little bit to the impacts of the American chestnut and relate that to the impacts of the Great Depression on the county as well. So, Bob, thank you for sitting down with me today.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And I've been looking forward to this all week.
Okay, good.
So, I guess we can start is if you'll tell us a little bit about why the American chestnut was so important.
Yes, the American chestnut tree, and this is important, was a straight grain tree, and it grew in Floyd County and surrounding counties, and it grew to heights of 50 to 80 feet tall. And this is important. It did not have limbs on that growth. It had its foliage and limbs at the top of the tree. So the top of the tree may have been 80 foot off the ground. I lived in town with my family, and we noticed that occasionally during the day it would be trucks going by the house, coming from the Thomas Grove and the Haycock region, and they would have a load of what was called acid wood on the truck. You could cut acid wood, which was dead chestnut trees. And my mother was telling me then, it almost made tears coming in her eyes when she got to thinking about her family of 3 girls and how they picked up chestnuts and sold them. They lived in the Greasy Creek area of Floyd County. And I will tell you about the chestnut tree. They had a woods back at the northeast end of their home there in Greasy Creek, and it had quite a few chestnut trees. At that time, the chestnut tree was still bearing fruit, and I will talk about the chestnut, which was the fruit of the chestnut tree. They would pick up chestnuts in the fall of the year and take them to the store and sell them to buy their school clothes and books. And the chestnut itself, with its burr, was almost as big as a tennis ball. But the nut, chestnut nut, the fruit of the tree, was inside this burr. and the burr was something like we see today, chicken pin burr. It had needles on it, but they could pick the, when the chestnut was ripe, it was easy to pick the fruit out of the burr. And that is what they did.
Now, did your
They would take their chestnuts that they gather into willows to sell them and trade them for so this was a big deal with them, and I can imagine from things that she told me and using my imagination, when they sit down at the supper table at their home in Greasy Creek. Their home was built partially with chestnut lumber. So there they were, in a home that was built with chestnut lumber, chestnut 2x4s, 2x6s, 2x8s, 2x8s, and they were having supper. And they were wearing clothes that was bought with the chestnut fruit that they'd taken to the willows to sell. And they could have a apple pie garnished with chestnuts, with the chestnut fruit. Now the fruit itself was about the size of a golf ball. If you take two chestnuts and put them back to back together, they would be almost the size of a golf ball. So they were eating apple pie garnished with chestnuts, wearing clothes that was bought with chestnuts, fruit, and in a home that was partially built with chestnut, dead chestnuts, in the woods behind their house.
now?
So the chestnut tree yielded many dollars for Floyd County. Now back to the acid wood. A couple of, or three young men could go cut chestnuts, dead chestnuts, and split them into acid wood and haul it to Radford that bought this chestnut acid wood. And you'd see trucks go by my home in town hauling acid wood to Radford. And the wood was bought and boiled down to make tannin acid. So the chestnut, even though the trees at that time were all dead, the chestnut tree was still yielding income for somebody that could cut acid wood. And Radford, and occasionally a truck would go by the house hauling bark. The acid wood was bought by weight, and they had a load of bark, and the bark may brought more per ton than the acid wood. But then in West Radford, it was boiled in water and boiled until they got the acid out of it. And that was shipped to Lynchburg to use to tan hides and make shoes. So they could have been wearing shoes that was, the leather was tanned by acid from Floyd County chestnut tree. So the chestnut tree was still yielding income for Floyd County.
Now, Bob, did your mother or your father's family raise hogs on chestnuts? Hogs were the most sold livestock from the mountains. Did they ever speak of the raising of hogs on chestnut?
Did they what?
Did your parents speak of raising hogs?
Oh, yes. Mother's dad would tell the three girls, go out and pick up your chestnuts because I want to turn the hogs into the woods and they will eat all the chestnuts. So the hogs were fattened off of the fruit of the chestnut tree. So there they were. They could be eating pork from hogs that was fattened on the chestnut fruit. So the chestnut yielded its fruit, and then you yielded its acid wood for Floyd County and other counties surrounding Floyd.
You have spoken before about the quality of rail fences and the chestnut fences. Can you speak a little about that?
Yes. There were thousands of yards built with rails that was split from the chestnut tree, and the chestnut tree grew as far west as Illinois. And I've read about Abraham Lincoln splitting rails. He probably was splitting chestnut trees because, again, the chestnut tree was a straight grain, and it was easy to split, and it was easy to cut. So Lincoln may have been splitting, excuse me, may have been splitting his rails from the chestnut in Illinois. I believe that's about all I have about it.
Okay. Well, we've talked once about the economic impacts of the chestnut dying, and you've spoken to me about how the chestnut blight was worse for the mountains than the Great Depression. Can you speak a little on that, the economic impact?
Yes, this was in the early 1900s that the chestnut blight came and killed all the chestnut trees. And so the chestnut wood, the chestnut fruit, the chestnut wood was a great economic benefit to Floyd County and surrounding counties. But it yielded its fruit and yielded its acid wood. 3 young men in a day's time, and this was in the early 1930s, could cut a load of acid wood and haul it to Radford. And also it was still yielding its bark, a load of bark. And it was bought by weight at Radford. Now, after the chestnut wood and chestnut bark was boiled and all the water was out, all of the water boiled away, rail cars with the acid, tanning acid, and it was shipped to Lynchburg where they tanned leather.
Right.
So it was still yielding dollars for the pockets of people in Floyd County and surrounding counties.